Okay, so when you hear the phrase substance abuse education, what instantly pops into your head? For a lot of us, it's those super heavy, kind of dark lectures we sat through back in middle or high school. But when we are talking about elementary education, early childhood through sixth grade, that approach just completely misses the mark. It really isn't about fear at this age, it's all about empowerment and prevention. So, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are putting a massive spotlight on Competency 003D. We're going to totally unpack how to equip young students with the refusal skills they need to navigate unsafe situations with total confidence. All right, let's dive right into this. Here is our roadmap for the explainer. We'll start by understanding Competency 003D, then hit the essential academic vocabulary, map out the 4 Rs of refusal, walk through some actual classroom scenarios, and wrap up with your key exam takeaways. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, Understanding Competency 003D and Unpacking the State Expectations. There's one absolutely crucial phrase you need to know here. Practice makes protective. I really want you to anchor your entire understanding of this competency right on this idea. When we're teaching elementary students, refusal skills have to be treated exactly like a school fire drill. Think about it. We don't teach fire drills by having these terrifying deep dive discussions about the nature of fire, right? No, we teach them as short, highly rehearsed, and totally normalized routines. We practice them over and over so that if the alarm ever actually rings, muscle memory takes over and the kids can just act without panicking. Well, the exact same logic applies to substance use prevention. We are literally building behavioral muscle memory. Now, there is a massive distinction you need to make for the exam. Our elementary focus is strictly on awareness, prevention, healthy decision-making, and practicing those refusal skills. What is absolutely not the focus at the EC through 6 level are detailed discussions about addiction, rehabilitation, or complex treatment protocols. So here's your essential takeaway. If you see a multiple choice question suggesting a lesson plan for 3rd graders about the clinical stages of addiction, it is a distractor. It is a trap. Don't fall for it. Keep your focus entirely on prevention and proactive choices. Let's move smoothly into Section 2, Essential Academic Vocabulary and the language you'll actually see on the exam. We have to look at how the exam specifically categorizes different substances. First up, tobacco, which is defined by its nicotine content. That's the highly addictive drug you'll find in cigarettes, cigars, and vaping products. Then there's alcohol. This is classified specifically as a drug that slows down the central nervous system, which severely affects a person's judgment, coordination, and decision-making. The broader term drug is used to refer to literally any substance that changes how the body or the mind functions. But take a close look at that bottom category, herbal supplements. This one catches so many people off guard. Why in the world is it included here? Well, because these plant-based products might be marketed as health aids, but they aren't always tested for safety or effectiveness. As a teacher, it is absolutely vital to know that natural does not automatically mean safe, and kids need to understand the risks of consuming unknown supplements. Next up, we need to clearly separate these behavioral concepts. Substance use is simply the act of consuming a substance. Substance abuse, on the other hand, crosses a major line. It's the harmful or inappropriate use that starts negatively impacting a person's health, their relationships, or just their day-to-day functioning. Addiction goes even further, into a physical or psychological dependence. But I want to draw your attention straight to that final concept, prevention. Actions taken to stop a problem before it ever begins. Like we talked about earlier, for an early childhood through 6th grade teacher, prevention is the ultimate gold star academic goal. Every single thing taught in this domain leads right back to prevention. And that brings us to Section 3, the 4 Rs of refusal. Let's turn all this theory into real classroom practice. So how do we actually go about teaching prevention? We do it through a brilliant little micro-routine called the 4 Rs. The steps are straightforward: recognize, refuse, remove, and report. What's absolutely vital to grasp here is that refusal skills aren't just some robotic script you make kids memorize. They are a concrete, highly teachable set of behaviors. First, the student has to recognize that a situation is unsafe. Second, they have to assertively refuse whatever is being offered. Third, they physically or conversationally remove themselves from that environment. And fourth, they report the incident to a trusted adult. Breaking it down into these 4 steps gives your students a super reliable framework they can apply to basically any unsafe situation. Now, I know what you might be thinking. If you are a generalist teacher listening to this, you're probably saying, my schedule is literally packed to the minute. How on earth do I fit this in? Well, here is your pro tip. You do not need an hour-long block to teach this. Actually, it's way better if you don't. Just use 5-minute slots, maybe twice a week for 2 or 3 weeks to introduce the framework. After that, it just becomes a simple 60-second weekly check-in. Keep the language super simple and the role plays incredibly low stakes. Use classroom puppets for the younger crowd, do quick partner role plays, or even just do choral practice where the whole class shouts out the refusal response together. Making it feasible and fun is the secret to consistency, and consistency is exactly what builds that protective muscle memory.
Let's see what this looks like in the real world. Section 4, Classroom Scenarios in Action.
Let's just drop right into a typical third-grade scenario. Imagine your student is out at recess. A visitor walks up to the fence and offers the kid a can of soda, casually saying, "Hey, it's just a drink." How does a student who has practiced the 4 Rs handle this? Well, first, they recognize the danger. They might think or even say aloud, "That's not mine to take." Next, they refuse. They use that practiced assertive boundary. "No thanks, I don't accept food from visitors." Notice how clear and non-negotiable that is. Third, they remove. The student does not stick around to debate the visitor. They immediately turn and walk back toward the classroom or a crowded play area. Finally, they report. They head straight to the teacher on duty and explain exactly what just happened. This is the perfect illustration of how totally abstract health concepts become literal, life-saving tools when they are practiced chronologically. But hey, the learning does not stop just because the role play is over. We have to lock this knowledge in, and we do that with 3 quick metacognitive questions for a post-scenario debrief. First, what worked? This lets the students celebrate their successful use of the strategy. Second, what felt hard? This one is so important. Openly acknowledging that it feels kind of awkward or scary to say no to an adult really validates the student's feelings and removes any shame. And finally, who can help? This perfectly reinforces their support network. This super brief reflection takes the whole exercise from a simple game of pretend and turns it into deeply internalized confidence. All right, we are in the home stretch. Let's hit section 5 for our final review and key exam takeaways. If you want to ensure you are absolutely bulletproof for the demands of Competency 003D on test day, burn these 3 points into your memory. First, remember the golden rule. Prevention is the primary focus at the elementary level. Just ignore any distractors talking about treatment plans. Second, your instructional goal is ensuring students learn healthy alternatives and actionable, highly practiced refusal skills, exactly like the 4 Rs we just broke down. And third, educators are fully expected to understand the specific definitions and risks tied to tobacco, alcohol, drugs, and yes, even those untested herbal supplements. Keep these high-yield snacks top of mind, and you are going to navigate any question related to this standard with zero stress. Which really leaves us with just one final thought for today. The theory is crystal clear, the standards are set, and the routines are proven to work. So my question to you is, how will you make practice protective in your classroom? Will it be 60-second puppet shows on a Tuesday morning? Maybe some quick choral responses right before recess? Honestly, whatever method you go with, just remember that by taking a few minutes a week to rehearse these skills, you are doing way more than just teaching a health curriculum. You are actively empowering your students to protect themselves. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Now get out there and start building those confident voices.